talk about how exhausting email marketing has become in 2025, you're probably juggling way too many tools right now. Email platform here, SMS tool there, live chat somewhere else, CRM in another tab. By the time you piece everything together, you lost half your day and your sanity. That's exactly why I want to show you Brevo today. This platform is different. Instead of forcing you to manage 5 different subscriptions and login passwords, they've built everything under one roof, all in one dashboard that actually helps you build meaningful relationships with your customers. Quick heads up, this video is sponsored by Brevo. Here's what makes Brevo a game changer. While other platforms nickel and dime you for every feature, Brevo gives you the whole toolkit from day one. Plus, you can send up to 300 emails daily, completely free, as of this recording. In this complete Brevo tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up your unified marketing hub from scratch, create email campaigns, and build powerful automations that nurture customer relationships. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Kasey and I run Luck & Go agency. We help 7, 8, and 9-figure e-commerce brands maximize their email and SMS revenue, often 2xing, sometimes even 5xing their revenue from email and SMS. If you find this video helpful, make sure that you like it and that you subscribe to my channel for more marketing tutorials. Now let's dive right in and get your Brevo account set up. Oh, and a quick note, if you want to save even more on your new Brevo account, use the link and the coupon code in the video description under this video. Okay, first things first, we want to sign up for free and start with a free account. Once we've created the account, Brevo is walking us through the account setup, which should be super straightforward. You can go ahead and add your details. Every email platform is always going to ask you for your address because you're legally required to display your address in the footer of all of the marketing emails that you send. There we go, we are in the account, and now Brevo is asking which pricing plan fits us best. Obviously based this on the number of contacts you have and how many emails per month you're going to be sending. However, you can also always start with a free plan and upgrade later. So let's do that. Now we're in the account. There are a few things that Brevo is suggesting that we do first. We can add our first contact. So if you already have a list that you're importing from another platform, start with that and create your first campaign. The first thing that I actually want to do as somebody who works a lot with e-commerce brands is connect my e-commerce platform. So I'm going to go in here and look at plugins and integrations, and then find the Shopify integration, which is actually right here, and click through. So I need to log into my Shopify and then go to the App Store and find the Brevo app. There we go. Let's install and go through all the steps that Shopify is going to walk us through. And over here, let's just skip trial and start with the basic bundle. So now let's go back to Brevo. And just like that, we are in the Brevo account. And Brevo is already helping us with recommending some of the first steps. And the first one is adding your first contact. So if you are bringing your contacts from another platform or from a spreadsheet where you kept them, you will want to import your account through a CSV file. That process is fairly straightforward. You upload the file, then you have to map the data, which Brevo is walking you through and helping you do that. And then you're selecting a list or creating a new list in Brevo. If you're creating a new list from scratch, I always recommend calling it master list as your main list. A lot of brands call it newsletter, which I find a little bit misleading because you're not only going to be sending newsletters to this list, but other campaigns as well. But let's come back to the home page and see the next step. The next step is creating your first campaign. That's where we'll spend the most time because that's what takes the most time when you just start on the new platform. Click into campaigns on the left-hand side and choose between email, SMS, WhatsApp, and web push. These are all of the different channels that Brevo can support and help you with. So email is the most where you have to set up the most things. So let's start with email. Right off the bat, you choose whether you're doing a regular or an A/B test campaign. And on a free plan, you can do an A/B test, and that makes sense. So let's do a regular campaign for now. And let's call it Father's Day sale. How about that? create campaign. A few settings that you will have to set up right now, and then moving forward, you'll just be able to clone your campaign so you don't have to spend time on this every single time you do this. So in the sender settings, you're choosing your email address and your name. I'm using a Gmail address just for the sake of this video, but obviously if you're sending as a business, you need to have an email address that's on your domain, and you need to authenticate that domain through Brevo. There's a very straightforward process that Brevo walks you through as well. So make sure that you do that as well before you even get here. After we've set the sender, so let's add recipients. Let's come into lists, and we're going to see your first list as the list that Brevo actually created for me. With one recipient so far, which is me. So let's just rename this list to call this master list, which is a little bit more descriptive, and then all my following contacts I'll be adding to this list. So let's go back into campaigns. Here's the draft of our campaign. Now we can choose recipients to be our master list. There we go. And then you definitely want to click on advanced options over here, because that's what's going to help you set up your segmentation further. So first of all, you have the option to not send to unengaged contacts. A lot of times that's probably a very good idea. And you can hover over this question mark and then go through the link and customize what constitutes an unengaged contact or an unengaged subscriber in your particular account. So by default, we're only looking at contacts that were created more than a year ago, and they've received at least one email campaign over the last year, and they have not opened any email campaigns in the last year. Or that contact has been created more than a year ago and has not received any email campaigns in the last 365 days. So you will probably definitely want to modify this, because these are pretty generous settings. And I would say somebody that received a lot of campaigns in the last 90 days, for example, maybe they received 10 campaigns in the last 90 or 180 days and have not opened or clicked a single one of them, that's already an unengaged subscriber who you will want to exclude from most, but not all of your campaigns. So definitely go in here and modify these settings. We're going to go back to our campaign and go back to setting up the recipient. So I'm going to click this don't send to unengaged contacts. Even though, you know, for Father's Day sale, that's questionable. Sometimes, depending on whether the sale is big or not, when you have a big sale, it is okay to include your unengaged contacts, because if anything, that's what they're going to engage with, a big sale. And then you can also choose to exclude certain segments or continue excluding, because by checking this box, we've already excluded unengaged subscribers. Now we can exclude other lists or other segments. Maybe you have a segment of people who purchased in the last 7 or 14 days and you don't want to send them a sale campaign. So you create that segment and you exclude that segment here. After you're done selecting all of the segments that you want to exclude, just click save and let's move on to the next step. The next step is one of the most fun ones, which is coming up with the subject line. Obviously, all of these are placeholders, but let's do something like 25% off our Father's Day collection, ? And then preview text is also very important, and that's what's going to show up in most inboxes as well, in addition to the subject line. And sometimes something ambiguous, something that evokes curiosity is better than something that is descriptive. So let's just use these 3 arrows and we can see a preview of what our email would look like in an inbox on mobile right here, which is super helpful. So let's click save and move on. And then finally, we're getting to the meat of the email, which is the design. So first of all, because this is a new account, Brevo is offering me to set up my brand, which is a great idea because then I can reuse all of the settings that I set here across my emails. And a really cool feature that they have is that you can just add your website URL in here, and Brevo is going to detect brand assets from your website. So let's try this. It got my logo, it got my colors, it got my font. Amazing. So let's just import brand assets. and then see if we want to customize anything. Colors, fonts, paragraphs. Let's use Arial. And then social media links. Obviously, you will want to add these. Ooh, there's a lot of choices. Most e-commerce brands have an Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so make sure that you add those. And then save your brand. Woohoo! Let's go back to our campaign. Father's Day sale. Go back to design stage and start designing. I definitely like to start with templates because that's a much faster way to create my email. So all of the options that Brevo is offering us, first of all, you can choose between different layouts, but then there's a pretty, you still need to add a bunch of content because these are pretty basic. You can also go into template gallery, and these are a lot more vibrant and a lot easier to work with. There are also my templates, which you're going to start creating and saving. So I don't have anything here yet because it's a brand new account. You will also be able to reuse your older campaigns. That's something that we do most often. And then you can upload the code of an email campaign from an external dev tool or design tool. So I'm actually going to start with the template gallery and choose sale from this drop-down option. This one is looking really great, so let me start with that. Everything in here is super customizable, so all you need to do is to click through all of these text boxes and images and just make sure to upload your images, obviously write your text. My logo here needs to be updated because it's dark on dark, so it's not visible. So I'll need to update it to a white one. But other than that, this email is pretty much 70% done. All I need to do is update colors, text, and photos. And then of course, something else that's also very important is making sure that you update all the buttons and images to link to your website. So to do that, you just click on the link or click on the image and go into the settings and update your URL. A pro tip that I want to mention here is that you do want to click and go through all of your images and add alt text to all of the images. What this is doing, what alt text is, it's alternative text. That's what it stands for. It appears on the back end of your email, and it describes the email or describes the images in your email to bots, to crawlers, to inbox providers. Sometimes that is used in generating AI previews, something that's a big thing in 2025 and beyond. Most importantly, alt text is very important when determining the placement of your email, because one of the factors that affects the placement of your email in the inbox is text to image ratio. In other words, when you have too many images and not enough text, a lot of inbox providers see that as a marketing email or as a spam email, and then they place your email accordingly. However, when you add alt text settings, lets you add more text into your email than appears to a viewer or a subscriber. And then, of course, accessibility is the final reason as well. Enough people have images disabled and turned off in their inbox. And so what they're going to see instead of your image is the alt text behind that image. So those are all of the reasons why you should have alt text in all of your images. So don't forget to add them. Once you're done with the design of the desktop version of your email, make sure that you click on the mobile preview, mobile mode, and scroll through your email and make sure that it's digestible, that it's easy to read, and just user-friendly on mobile. So go through everything over here and make sure that you send yourself a test. So click on preview and test, and then you'll be able to preview it over here, kind of like a simulated preview. But what's more important than that is sending yourself a test email. So this is my email address, so let's send ourselves a test. Make sure that you view it on your computer and on your phone, very importantly, because most opens actually happen on mobile devices. So let's be done with this and click Save and Quit. At this point, our email is ready to be scheduled, so let's click Schedule. So the options that we have here are to send now, to schedule for later, and choose a specific date and time. And my favorite option, to send at best time. This is an automatic way in which Brevo, with their AI assistant Aura, determines the best send time for your recipients. And the way it works is that when you have a sizable list, what they'll do is they'll send that email to all of the subscribers on your selected list or segment over the course of the next 24 hours or over the course of the 24 hours on a day that you selected. And then they will analyze opens and clicks to determine at which hour of the day you get the best engagement from your subscribers. This is a really cool feature, very smart one. I definitely recommend scheduling using this option whenever possible. Of course, sometimes, like for example with a sale, sometimes I will want people to just receive it at a specific time. So I will schedule for June 15th at, for some reason, my account is using a 24-hour day, which I can configure in my settings. So let's say 20 p.m., which is 8 p.m. Pacific time. And then the final thing is click schedule and you are done sending or scheduling your first campaign. Amazing. Next, let's move on to automations. Automations are extremely important and are honestly a foundation for any e-commerce brand. You want to automate as much of your revenue as possible, and you want your email marketing and SMS marketing to work while you sleep. And automations or flows or sequences, different email platforms use different terms, so you might be used to another term, but Brevo calls these automations, which makes most sense. So let's go into automations on the left and click on create an automation. What's really cool is that Brevo already has some pre-built templates for some of the most popular automations or flows for e-commerce brands, such as abandoned cart, product purchase, welcome message, and anniversary date. Let's start with abandoned cart. If you're having trouble here, because it says, for example, to me that I haven't connected an e-commerce store yet, I actually have. So let me go into my Brevo app on Shopify and find automations in the same place on the left over here, and then click into abandoned cart. And so I'll be able to create an automation very easily from here. So again, because this is a pre-built template, a lot of the things are already built for me, which is really great. The first thing that any automation always starts with is the trigger. We want to set up our trigger first. The trigger that this automation is using is cart updated, of course, because that's what we are working on, is abandoned cart. And then what I can do is select some e-commerce filters or contact filters. We can skip both of these for now, and let's just pretend that this is a very general abandoned cart for all of the shoppers who are shopping on our site and abandoning their cart. In the future, you can segment this based on whether this is a first-time customer, somebody who's never bought from you before, or a returning customer. You can also add a bunch of different filters, but for now, for simplicity, let's just click next. And so the next thing we need to do is, of course, to choose our time delay. And 2 hours is more or less a standard for abandoned carts. A lot of brands choose to make it a little bit shorter, maybe a 1 hour and 30 minutes. I would go up to 3 hours, but not more than that. And then click next. And then let's work on our first email in this sequence. So there's the message that we're going to edit in just a moment. And then there are also a few settings that we need to figure out. So first of all, what event data do we want to display? The latest instant of an event, in our case, the event is cart was updated, the event that triggered this automation, or something else. This is for instances when somebody triggered this flow when they abandoned a cart, but then by the time that they got to the email, so, after that time delay that we've set, they've triggered this flow again. And so we get to choose which event data is going to display in the email. So which product image for the first abandonment or the second abandonment. And then a few other settings here are the subject line. So name, you left something behind. You will also want to definitely choose the preview text. Grab it before someone else does. And then a little arrow. And then as always, email address and sender name. So let's confirm. We haven't actually set up the email yet, so let's go back in and click edit over here. All right, because we've already set up our brand guidelines and brand assets in the past, the logo is pulled in here Some of the colors are pulled in here. So all you need to do is to customize this email, make it pretty, make it beautiful. Something that I recommend for abandoned checkout or abandoned cart emails is to actually not add a header image, which we don't have in this email, which makes it a great template. That's how you know the template was made by professionals, because the point of this email is to show the customer what they abandoned as soon as possible, so they see that without having to scroll the email, because that's what's going to convert them the most. That's what has the highest probability of getting that person back into their cart, back on your site, and completing their purchase. So you'll want to customize this text, of course, customize the buttons probably. I would say not edit cart, but finish checkout. And then this image is going to automatically pull the image from the cart. And then all of these properties of the event are already pulled into this email, which makes it a really, really great template. Something that I would definitely add is another section. So we got, hey, come back. We have the products that are waiting for the person in cart. I would add one more section about either the benefits of the product or why they should not be afraid to buy from you. Because for a lot of people who are abandoning checkout or abandoning cart, they have some hesitation. So help your customers and help your shoppers overcome those hesitations. So things that can help: social proof, reviews, UGC, user-generated content. Maybe if you've been mentioned in press, the logos of those press publications that published you or mentioned you. Other things that could help is a guarantee. If you have a 30-day guarantee or anything like that, definitely feature that in your abandoned checkout email. Something else that usually helps is a lot of people have price hesitation. So whatever you can do to help overcome the price hesitation is helpful here. Maybe you have a free shipping threshold. Maybe you can offer a discount, although I probably wouldn't recommend adding a discount in the first abandoned cart email, but we can do that in the second email, which we're going to set up in just a moment. Let's click on sections, and then we can choose from some predefined, really beautiful sections over here. And then with time, you'll also have your own saved sections here as well. So let's pretend that we're done here. Click this, and Brevo will take us back to the overview of our automation. And as I mentioned, let's add another email. So let's click save on here, and then click into actions or rules. In the rules, we can choose a time delay, and let's wait 1 day. We're not going to add a conditional split right now, but in the future, this is how you split your flow based on whether you want to communicate with non-customers, so people who are shopping your brand for the first time, versus repeat customers. Some strategy tips is that repeat customers probably don't need as much of a discount to make a purchase because they've already experienced your product and your brand in the past. Whereas the new shoppers, the non-customers, they do very much often need a discount, and they also really benefit from trust building content such as social proof, reviews, UGC, things like that. And the returning customers, again, don't need as much of that because they've already had a first-hand experience with your product. So this is how you split the flow. For now, for the sake of brevity of the video, let's skip that. And let's just add one more email to this flow. So this is how we add an email, which is drag and drop that right in here. And then if we wanted to add an SMS, we would drag this action in here. Everything is super straightforward, very intuitive. For SMS, transactional, Brevo right here explains what a transactional SMS is. Abandoned cart is always a promotional SMS. This is where you set that up, go through a few settings. Everything is very straightforward. And then for this email, a little tip or trick that I have is, instead of dragging and dropping it like I did just now, I'm actually going to duplicate my initial email and then drag it into the right place in the sequence. Delete this earlier one that I've created. And this already has a lot of settings set up that I would need to set up for the second time. So all I need to do is something that I like doing is keeping things organized. So let's go back in here, and instead of naming this step as send an email, we're going to call it AC email 1, which stands for abandoned cart email 1. And then this one would be called abandoned cart email 2. And there you have it. Once you're actually done with all of your emails and all of your SMS messages, what you want to do is activate the automation. Some of the settings that Brevo will let you choose here is re-entry after exit. So what happens if somebody exited the flow, but then they qualify to re-enter it again? In other words, they've triggered the trigger again. What are the exit conditions? And then restart conditions. So make sure that you go through all of those settings and activate the automation. Other features and products that Brevo has is transactional messaging, which is really great. Transactional essentially are all of those messages that relate to transactions that the customer makes with you, such as placing an order, requesting a refund, things like that. So it's really great that you can figure out your transactional messages, emails, and SMS directly from Brevo, the same place where you're figuring out your marketing messages. And then conversations, deals, meetings, and calls. Some of those things relate more to the CRM that they let you manage. E-commerce brands will probably find the most value from automations and campaigns, as well as the segmentation features of Brevo. And just like that, you've gone from juggling multiple marketing tools to having everything unified in one powerful platform. The best part about what we just set up, you'll never have to worry about your email data not talking to your SMS campaigns or your chat conversations getting lost in a separate system. Everything is connected, everything's working together, and you can finally focus on what matters most, growing your business instead of managing software. And if this tutorial saved you from the headache of managing multiple platforms, do me a favor and hit that like button. And definitely subscribe, because I've got more tutorials coming your way that will show you how to maximize every feature we just set up. As a reminder, there is a link to save on Brevo under this video in the description, so make sure that you use that link to set up your account. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.